Hey everybody, welcome back. It's patch 622, the first patch of Preseason 7, which means there's a lot of new changes to talk about regarding the jungle, some new items, and masteries. The build I want to show you today was designed with one goal, and that is to do the maximum burst damage that we possibly can in a short period of time. So this is what the early core of the build looks like. First item, Poacher's Dirk for the attack damage and out of combat movement speed. It can later be upgraded into 3 different options. If we succeed in getting an early lead, we can pick up Warrior Enchantment and Ravenous Hydra for more damage, but if we weren't as lucky, or if we just prefer to be tanky, we can always convert to tank in the mid game by building Cinderhulk and Titanic Hydra instead of the damage options. And as you can see here, the tanky build still does pretty good damage. And then after the jungle item and Hydra are complete, finish the build by choosing defensive items based on whoever is strong on the enemy team and whether they do physical or magic damage. For the runes, we will use all attack damage, quintessences, and reds. The yellows will be flat armor. The blues, there will be 3 scaling magic resist and 6 scaling cooldown reduction. For the masteries, our keystone is Thunderlords to help increase our initial burst damage. And we're using 2 other masteries that are new that are also to help our initial burst damage. First one in the Ferocity Tree, Fresh Blood. Your first basic attack against a champion deals an additional 10 plus 1 per level damage, so it does damage in the early game, but late game is going to be pretty worthless. And that only has a 6-second cooldown. And then the other new mastery, Stepping into Brush, causes your next damaging attack or ability to deal a percentage of the target's current health as magic damage. And that's a 9-second cooldown. We're also taking Assassin to deal increased damage when we're alone, and Double-Edged Sword to give us the most damage in the early game without needing to spend time to stack it up. For the first clear, let's start with Hunter's Machete now, because it got buffed this patch, and we're going to be starting at blue buff because Gromp doesn't spawn for another 10 seconds. So our Q has already been activated, we'll attack twice, and then activate another Q after the second attack. So the 2 Qs will trigger back to back, and you should see 200 damage total stack up if you did it just right. Now, level up W, and we'll activate it instantly just so we can keep the passive stack from that earlier Q. And now we'll just keep alternating Q and W. And our Hunter's Machete is going to keep us full health without needing to use any of our health potions. Or the Smite. Smite has a longer cooldown now, so you don't really want to use it early on if you don't need to. And Smite heals you now, so that's another reason to save it for later. It heals you against any monster, but all the other Smite buffs were removed from the game, like the Gromp poison buff, which is part of the reason why I just don't even bother taking Gromp anymore. I would just rather have the fastest level 3 with double buffs that I can get and go straight to ganking. So speaking of ganking, let's go straight for this Vayne. Go around the wall, and this whole fight was just awkward. I flashed this Condemn, I thought that was a decent play, but then the following 10 seconds were just so embarrassing. I just had to fast forward that. A little bit painful to watch that. But at least we got first blood. I didn't get an assist, but at least I tried. Now this Lee Sin over here is pretty low, and I'm a level up on him, and I have blue buff. So, I mean, there's no chance for him to survive if he checks the bush like that. But I got his flash, and also killed him, so got ourselves up to 800 gold. Our goal for our first recall is 1,000 gold. That way we can pick up the Hunter's Potion and the Poacher's Dirk for exactly 1,000 gold total. Try again for another gank, this time in bot lane. Not gonna have enough damage to kill them, but I helped my bot lane a little bit. So we're gonna have to take one more camp to get up to our 1,000 gold. So let's just take the Scuttle Crab to help our bot lane and mid a little bit, but we'll also get exactly to the amount we need by the time we get to base. So Hunter's Potion, Poacher's Dirk. Now let's head up to top lane. Now I'm going to stun this guy, but I'm going to keep running past because my attack speed is so low I wouldn't even be able to attack him anyways if I just stood still. So, I mean, I can at least cover a little distance and make it a little bit harder for him to get away if I just keep moving in the direction that he wants to move. So that's the idea behind that. Now, second blue buff. After you take second blue buff, you can solo dragon, but first let's try to get another kill in bot lane because they're pushed. do get a Draven, but I'm not gonna kill Annie. Wasted my flash. Lee Sin, let me go. Let me go, man. I really like these new plants in the river that give you the health and mana. That's really helpful. It also is really helpful for laners. So sometimes if you are already full health and mana, you can tell your teammates to come over and take those. Sometimes it really helps the laners out. Now you can solo Dragon after taking the second blue buff just by alternating Q and W. Now let's try to invade because we do have a Poacher's Dirk, so we need to take enemy jungle monsters to stack that. So we got our first one done. Now it has a 1-minute timer before we can take another one. So I'm just running around. I tried to gank bot, came back up here to check red, but then the worst thing happened. Vayne was here, and I have no mana, so I didn't want to try to get past her. So I just tried to sneak out the bottom bush, and then I just couldn't run fast enough. So they got me this time, but I'm going to be back with a vengeance. Since the strong enemies are mostly physical damage, I just decided to pick up the defensive armor boots. Now let's try again for top lane. Sweep this so he can't see me. And as soon as he uses his jump to dive in there, I decided to jump in. Got the stun barely. Pop. Take this blue buff. I don't really need to give it to my mid laner because it's Katarina. Let's try for another kill here. This guy's gonna face check this. This time I actually started with Tiger Stance. I think that's a better way to do it. If you're able to get up close to somebody without using Bear Stance for the first attack, it's best if you can use Tiger Stance and then Bear Stance and then another Tiger Stance. That way you can get 2 burns on somebody without them being able to get away. The first Q will trigger Thunderlords instantly, and then they instantly get stunned. Then at that point you can just Q one more time, and even if they flash away, the burn sometimes will finish them off. So I just stole another camp from the enemy jungle, so I need one more. Now I pinged the dragon because it's spawning real soon. Let's try to sneak up behind these guys. He's dead. Annie, this is for making me waste flash. This Lee Sin comes over to try to steal it. The only way he's going to be able to steal it is if he lands a Q on the dragon. So I'm going to try to block that. If he lands a Q on the dragon, then he can combine that with his smite to make a pretty unbeatable burst of damage that I can't outsmite. So just try as hard as you can to block that Q if you're playing against a Lee Sin jungle. Try top again. And 1 Q. That's a lot of damage. Chase this Lee. I'm coming for you, Lee Sin. I can run faster than you, Lee Sin. And we got his ult. Jump over this wall. Now, I got kind of sandwiched here. Just decided to sprint to the right side. No Vayne's in that bush. I'm going to try to focus her down real quick. But I don't have quite enough damage. I got his heal, though. Now, let's just run. Can't really fight them when we're this low health, when we're this squishy. Let's go farm a little bit. But then, I mean, look at this Vayne. He flashes, he condemns me into the bush, and he just like stands there like, oh, I messed up. He probably thinks I ran, and then I just pop out of the bush, and he's dead. Now Riven's coming to clean up. Now I'm going to try to juke this Riven by stepping backwards. Almost dodged it, not quite. Then I tried to step back into the bush there. He barely got me with the outer edge of his stun both times. We still got him. I'm going to buy a BF sword. I haven't actually built the Tiamat yet, but BF sword is going to do a lot more single target burst damage compared to a Tiamat. The Tiamat's good for farming the jungle fast or split pushing, but for single target burst damage, BF sword is going to do a lot more damage. Yeah, this build is pretty good for doing damage, but you're also very squishy, and this right here is going to show you just how squishy you are. I'm just going to walk in here, and doesn't look like there's much of a threat until suddenly I'm dead. Just keep that in mind. If you're building Warrior and Ravenous, you're going to be really squishy, and you got to play like an assassin. You can't just run into the middle of a team fight and expect to not be focused. Especially if you've already deleted them a few times, they're going to definitely want to kill you any chance they can get. More stealthy approach like this is the best way to go about it. So he's gone. Nobody's going to defend this tower now. And our Mountain Drake's going to help us take it down real fast. Another dragon until Vayne shows up. Surprise! Gotcha. You can see it only takes one stun to kill most of these people. That's all it takes. You just need to be able to catch them with one stun. And if you're able to do that without dying, that's the hard part. This Vayne really wants me. Popped over the wall. Gonna step in this bush. Oh, hi there. Look at that clear speed. Krugs are no match for the Tiamat. Bought a Zizirot. So since we already have bot inhibitor down, I'm just gonna put this Zizirot in top lane. At this point, I have switched my boots over to Merc Treads because Annie was the only thing that was able to kill me in one burst. The tenacity and the magic resist will help with that. Nobody's gonna stop us, especially with our Mountain Drake buff. We can kill these towers so fast. Now let's just run into the enemy base here. I'm gonna try to juke out this Riven. There we go. Worked that time. I can just run in and stun him, and he's gonna be dead. And this game's pretty much over. So I'm gonna end it here. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned and hope you enjoyed. And leave a like if you did, and leave a comment if you have any questions, and I will try to answer all the questions that I can to the best of my ability. So thank you guys again. See you next time. Bye bye.